were from the more affluent areas had held on to the secret for much longer quite often, were experiencing extreme controlling behaviour but quite often not accompanied by physical abuse because the perpetrator was too smart. So he was able to do that sort of subtle grinding down emotional abuse that just kept her completely unable to act on her own behalf.
You were living in fear, and you sit there every day thinking, how am I going to get out? And then you look at your children's faces and you think, I know I have to do something, but you don't quite know what to do. He just would drink, and the drinking and driving was 3-4 times a week. And I found out that he'd had the children in the car and he couldn't stand. So that was the catalyst, because it wasn't me that was in danger, the children were at risk.
I'm Donna Williamson. I look after our Kids Shine team. The advocates in the office that are working with the women, if they have children, they'll usually do a referral to Kids Shine. My job is to contact Mum and have a talk with her about how things are going for her and how things are going for her children. When we're talking with children, most important is that they know that the violence isn't their fault.
When Donna first came, she talked to us about where we were at, and she also had a private talk with Jamie to see whether she was okay, how she was doing, if she felt safe with me, which was great.
When the Shine ladies came, it was really good because they were there to help and I didn't need to worry about Mum anymore.
She told her it wasn't her responsibility to look after her mother, and that she was going to be okay. There were things that she could do to get through it, and she worked out a safety plan with her, so she knew exactly what to do if Rick came around, whether she was alone at the house or if she was with me.
I went to the police station at one stage because I was really worried, and they just said, has he hurt you? Have you got any bruises to show us? And what about your children? Has he hurt them? And I said, no. And they said, we can't help you. They said something has to happen before we'll do something about it. They said there's no proof.
Being believed's a huge issue for women, especially where there's psychological abuse with no physical abuse, because there's no way of proving it.
The abusive situation became intolerable and Lisa took out a protection order against her husband.
And I telephoned him and said, I'm no longer going to be married to you and you're no longer coming back to this house. This is no longer your home. He just said, wait till I get there. And you were in a lot of trouble. I couldn't tell you how angry he was. It was the scariest week and I was so frightened. The last court hearing was a mediation where the judge actually said one of you has to basically give in. And you're talking to someone that will never give in, so yeah, just to have resolution I had to. So by doing that it became exactly equal care.
Safe at Home is a service provided by Shine to keep women safe in their own home.
Our team here will assess whether she might need the Safe at Home project, which provides home security for women who need to stay in their own home and need to keep the offender out.
Hello, I'm Liz, the Safe at Home coordinator from Shine. The main aim of it is to allow women to stay in their homes, because most of them have moved, some of them, you know, multiple times, and that's hugely disruptive for everybody. The first thing I do actually is a brief questionnaire just to capture how things are for them at that time, you know, what their level of fear is. So I usually start at the front door and then work my way through the house, room by room, and I see that you've got this glass door here. So one thing we could do is replace that with a solid wooden door. And also we have the restrictor. It works better than a chain. And have a peephole fitted. The peephole seems like a really small, insignificant thing, but I've had a lot of feedback from women talking about how important they are. You know, it means they don't have to open the door to see who's on the other side. So you've got these windows here, and what I often have done is have those window restrictors put on. I realised that once I started talking to them about the steps that we could take to improve the security, that immediately it started to affect how they felt about their safety.
The threshold for legal aid is way too low, and women who are in abusive relationships often have to leave their own home. They go down economically every time they have to move. They lose and they lose and they lose, and then they have to work very hard to try and recover from that, and then they're expected to pay for their own safety. Legal aid should just be automatically available to anyone who experiences abuse and needs to get protection. You should not have to pay at all. Like some lawyers charge a $50 fee. I think even that is too much. It should be a right. Isn't safety in your own home a right?
Throughout the whole court proceedings, I had to pay for my own lawyer because I was working full time, and he didn't have to pay a cent because he was unemployed. You hire a lawyer for a day. If the hearing's cancelled or postponed, you still have to pay them for that day, and it's not cheap. You know, by the time we got to the end of all the legal proceeding, I owed him over $11,000 in fees. I was paying for my own safety. I was paying out the nose for my own safety.
There's been quite a strong lobby from men's groups that's very strong on the idea that children need two parents. Unless there's a very clear commitment by both parties that they're going to put the children first, I think that those arrangements almost never work. And they're just devastating for children to have to trek back and forth and go into a household where there's abuse being used, maybe against a new partner, and having to witness it all over again when they're just recovering from what happened to their own mother.
There was an incident where the children ran away from Dad's house at night and made their way here. I was contacted by one of my children, completely distraught, saying, "I can't stay there. I don't want to, Mum. Come and get me." So I went and picked them up, and I phoned the police to say what had happened, and they came to check on the children, and they said the children are more than happy at home. I put them to sleep, and the next day the police came in, and the children were physically removed from the house and taken back. And I said to the police officers, "Just leave them and I will take them to your car." Yeah, I carried both of them down there, and they even said to me, "We're so sorry. We're so sorry that we have to do this." And I put my kids in their car and watched them drive off.
Many mothers ringing lots of times saying, you know, what do I do about this? There's a parenting order in place. If I don't send him, if I don't push him or her, then I can be arrested because it's breaking the parenting order.
My children are at times even worried for Dad's partner now, and say that there's certain things that happen that just aren't right. The way he speaks to her, the way he treats her. So the whole thing's going, you know, they're going, it's another cycle. And it's been quite good for the children to know that that's why I'm not there. That Mum is not with Dad because of the way he treats people. And the way he's treating his partner now is not acceptable.
When myself or one of my advocates in my team go into a home, they work with the children. So whatever works for that child is what they're going to do. So if a child's into writing a diary, into writing a journal, she or he might suggest that they start writing things down, good things as well as bad things.
Shine came in and they got the kids to write a weekly diary or daily diary about how they feel. And she said it doesn't have to be all negative, you know, it doesn't have to be something that was wrong. It can be something that you're really happy with as well. Yeah, just try to get the children to just explain, you know, how they feel, and being able to write that down was really powerful. And I remember my daughter saying to me, "This is the first group of people, Mum, that listen." They actually listen to what we say, and she takes us seriously.
Before Shine came along, I couldn't tell anybody about what was happening in my house. I didn't want to tell Mum about it just in case she'll get upset, so I just talked to my teddies. Now it's just me and Mum, and I feel really happy and I feel really safe.
Rick did not attend any Stopping Violence program as directed by the court and was refused access to his daughter.
We're going to go to court next week, but I just found out that he's agreed to everything that we requested. The case is closed. It's amazing. It's like just this chapter can be closed in our lives finally, and we can move on.
Life here is very different. My partner now is very, very good. He's very calm. Nothing phases him, and he just lives life. You know, he just gets on with it. As long as the children can grow up and have relationships that work and that are right for them and that are safe.
If our whole society stands against this, it will stop. White Ribbon Day, for example, where men stand up and say, we're good men and we don't want to be tainted by this view that men use violence. We want all men to stop.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.